Hello everyone. You're about to listen to a brief retelling of the movie Marmalade. Please enjoy the movie. A scared and timid boy named Baron ends up in a cell with the recidivist Otis. This dark-skinned convict is truly an expert in escaping. That's precisely what Baron is in need of. The young man is willing to pay the bandit as much as $250,000 if by 3 o'clock tomorrow he will be free. Baron is eager to return to his favorite girl. For this reason, he is prepared to give up all his money. What is she, just ass and gold? I have to protect her. Otis is only willing to assist if he hears the entire story first. Baron began with a tale about running through a wheat field with his mother when he was a child. He started his story with dinosaurs. You ran through the wheat field as a baby? I'm going to cut you up, you asshole, and your mama too. Baron then moved forward and told the convict about his experience working at the post office in his small town. He truly loved his job, but one day his boss suddenly fired him. I've been telling you for 6 months to cut your hair. Get out. The guy is desperate because it's the only way he can afford his mom's really expensive medicine. And then he receives a notice that the price has increased. Bear's mom is bedridden, unable to speak or even breathe by herself. For this reason, the young man is tied to his mom, and he's also tied to this town. In a place where finding a job is nearly impossible. Then, out of nowhere, appeared a bright red-headed girl named Marmalade. She initially thought Baron was dead, although the living potlatch wasn't very helpful either. He struggled to maintain a conversation, and the redhead quickly left. Feeling frustrated, Baron angrily struck the swing with a stick. However, Marmalade returned and offered to give the brat a tour of her dreary town. Baron was overwhelmed with happiness and couldn't believe his luck. From that moment onward, they became inseparable. Give it a try. Here, right here. Marmalade shared with me that she had been in and out of foster homes throughout her entire childhood, and that Baron's father was actually an astronaut. One day, he tragically exploded in a rocket, so he never returned home. Well, at least that's the story his mom told him. She's very ill, and her medication now costs a fortune. Marmalade asked if she could spend the night at her new friend's house. The girl then met Ada's mother, who was barely alive, and settled into Baron's nursery. She's likely going to stay here for quite some time, and the boy is extremely happy about it. The following day, the romantic returned home carrying a bouquet of wildflowers. But here's the issue. Marmalade has no scent. She's an expressive girl, completely the opposite of the phlegmatic Baron. She promised she would assist him with his mother. I just wish I could find some money for the pills. Let's go rob a bank. I don't understand? Come on. We'll rob a bank with you. Otis got curious about the story and urged his neighbor to go on. To ensure Barome was truly on board, Marmalade gave him a kiss and even called him the knight sent to her by heaven. Burrow glanced once more at his ailing mother and decided to agree. Meanwhile, they were eating ice cream while sitting in front of the bank, but it's impossible to get close because there are just too many cars around. However, that's not a problem. There's another branch just a couple of blocks away. It stands on the outskirts of nowhere, practically inviting someone to rob it. Marmalade comes up with a plan for Baron, asking him to shoot the security cameras. Marmalade owns a large magnum, which Baron will need to learn how to shoot with. Take a look at it, Harry. That wild girl dragged Baron into a clothing store, and then, in the fitting room, she gave herself to him. Marmalade even went as far as getting a tattoo of a heart with Baron's name on it. However, when it came to the bearded man, he made a mistake with his tattoo and ended up stuffing his mom instead of Marmalade. The girl then began to pressure a friend to deceive local vendors, starting with small things. Due to all these preparations, there was a time when Baron actually managed to forget about his mom. The young man believed he had another jar of that costly medicine, but in reality, he was down to just a few pills. Baron sleeps beside the Marmalade bed, just like a loyal dog. This morning, the girl put on a balaclava over her head and frightened the kid out of his wits. Today, they broke into someone's cabin in the woods, which would become their hideout after the robbery. Baron made Marmalade talk about her tough childhood, and the traumatized girl admitted that her stepfather did terrible things to her and other foster children. Afterward, he would lock them in dog cages in his garage. And after everything, he is still adopting girls. The girl who was crying finally calms down and enters a store filled with all kinds of things. They need to find some cool masks for their robbery. Baron liked the mask with a rooster on it. Nah, they'll end up calling us cockfighters if we wear this, unless you don't care. Marmalade spotted the scary masks with 3 faces and realized that's exactly what they needed. The criminal had no intention of paying for them. In fact, she took out her magnum and smashed it right in the salesman's face. Marmalade attempted to rob the cash register, but the key snapped, forcing her to leave empty-handed. Baron is stunned and can't seem to regain his composure. It appears he no longer wishes to rob a bank. I'd prefer to sell my baseball card collection. Do you want her to die? Marmalade assured that it would be the last time, as if she'd ever done such a thing before. To ensure her voice isn't remembered, Red will rely on notes. All Baron desires is to be with his favorite girl. She insists it's impossible without a robbery. The boy must come to terms with that. Their intimate moment was disrupted by Mom's coughing. Marmalade requested Baron to remain. She will assist Ada, as it's her mom now. All of a sudden, Marmalade let out a squeal. Baron's mom was lying in an unusual position, and the machine was sounding an alarm. The girl claims she doesn't comprehend how it occurred. Ada was deceased. The boy recalled once more how he and his mom would walk in the field when he was young. And this time, Otis didn't interfere with him at all. His mom has been ill for her entire life as well, and they don't even communicate with each other. The woman resides on Yamalka, and Otis hasn't laid eyes on her in quite a while. But Mom is all alone. The guard opens the cell door, signaling that it's time to head to lunch. Otis understands that the sweaty man will struggle in the mess hall, so he advises him to dry his tears and clench his buns even tighter. Baron's meal was quickly grabbed by the other inmates, and he was shoved face down into the mush. The man mentioned to his neighbor that there was something caught in his beard. In a strange twist of gratitude, the creepy individual wanted to smash his face, but thankfully, Otis stepped in and strangled the bearded man. A guard then dragged the intruder away, and once they were alone, Otis effortlessly took off his handcuffs. It wasn't due to any magic skills, but rather because he is actually an FBI agent working undercover. This FBI agent has been tracking this criminal for 2 years, and it's the first time he's been able to get this close to her. Called the robber doll, she always appeared in the same dress, writing the same notes. Baron called the criminal, saying he was tied up but would meet her tomorrow. Otis went back to the cell to finish Potlatch's story. Baron, thinking his mom was dead, saw no need to rob the bank. But Marmalade lost it and revealed she was pregnant with Baron's child. Ha! The goon and I are going to have a little goon. Baron hoped and prayed fervently that their baby boy would be safe during the robbery. Marmalade, dressed in her typical pink outfit, drove up to the bank. She left Baron waiting in the car and, wearing 2 masks at the same time, went inside to commit yet another crime. Everything unfolded very quickly. Marmalade dashed out of the bank with a stack of money, and in the car she started to revel in $100 bills. Baron feels really bad. They ended up stealing much more than they had planned, and Marmalade admitted it wasn't her first robbery, not even her second one. That's not the only thing she lied about. Did you pass gas? You can't smell anything. Oh, all right. Marmalade celebrating their success and is preparing dinner. She asked her partner to bring the masks from the wheelbarrow so they could burn them. But along with those, Baron discovered his mom's medicine hidden in the car. The guy went back to the house and pointed her gun at the damsel. Marmalade foolishly justified, "I just hid the pills in the car and forgot about them." How can you be trusted? She died on her own, that's it. Just then, the police arrived at the house. Marmalade recalled the emergency plan. Tomorrow they must meet at the agreed place, or they'd never see each other again. She then took half the money and ran off, while simpleton Baron walked out of the house with his hands up, surrendering to the police. Otis insists on knowing exactly where he and Marmalade should meet, but Baron reveals this only after he escapes. The agent guard opens the cell, letting Otis change into his uniform. Meanwhile, Baron sneaks into a cart filled with dirty laundry. There's just one door between them and the street. However, Otis can't locate the correct key, arousing the guard's suspicion. Otis rolls Baron out into the parking lot and ends up curled on the floor. Hardly anyone in the prison was aware of the operation, which caused things to go wrong. The agents began following Barron. He purchased a bouquet from a flower shop and placed it on his mother's grave. That's a definite 10 for accessory after the fact. At least he was able to visit his mom's grave. Afterward, Barron made a stop at a coffee shop. Otis has the police searching for a suspect. They already have her description. After some time, the car started again, and the agents resumed their stakeout. The next time Barron stopped at a gas station, the FBI agents assumed that would be the meeting spot, so they hurried to the car. However, it was not our hero who emerged. Instead, it was the cafe cashier. Barron had handed over his car to him, and then he switched to a different vehicle and headed to the cabin in the forest. Inside, he hid half of the loot in the fireplace. Additionally, he left behind newspaper clippings featuring pictures of the FBI agent who was the lead expert on the Dolly case. And actually, there's no mom buried here. Moreover, there's not even a girl named Marmalade. In the bank's photo, Otis noticed a tattoo that read "Mom" on Barron's leg. The robber himself donned another disguise and smoothly drove past the police roadblock. "Have a nice day, ma'am." "You too." Following the haircut, Barron appeared at the drugstore and collected his costly order. All the medicine supplies his mom, Ada Lemrum, required. Marmalade, if spelled backwards. The pills consumed nearly all the money that was stolen. Meanwhile, the agents approached the owner of the pharmaceutical company responsible for producing these pills. Each time his money is taken to a bank, it gets stolen at that exact moment. Just yesterday, he experienced another robbery, losing $500,000. Incidentally, the company's name is Barron Pharmaceuticals. Out of the blue, Otis inquired if the businessman had any adopted children. He bore a striking resemblance to the perverted jerk Barron had described in his tale. Otis sent a search team to his address. "We need to focus on the garage." Barron mentioned his dad has a cane and an eye twitch when he's upset. Who does that remind you of? They found 3 cages at the wealthy guy's place that once held foster kids. They're being interviewed now. Dad found a brownie in his car that Barron used to give his mom. The agent visited a nearby pharmacy and questioned the pharmacist. He said that after the pharmacy, the kid planned to go to the travel agency. Turigan was aware that his father was on his way to visit him. Barron had left a letter for the FBI officer in which he bid him farewell and simultaneously requested that he look in on his mother. Inside the envelope, there was also a first-class ticket to Jamaica.